शुरू कर.
हो गया.
Okay. अच्छा. Today we'll just focus on shadows, light source, value grid. Okay, value grid is nothing but it is just like how it becomes from dark value to absolutely invisible value. This is generally, I mean, when we say dark, so in pencils we can say this is the 8B effect or 14B effect. This is 9H effect. So anything between 6H to 9H, and this is anything between 8B to 14B. Okay? More we move ahead from 8B, it becomes more and more shiny black. And it reduces slowly. So the blackishness changes to grayishness. And with every time it's moving towards this side, it becomes lighter and lighter. And it gradually becomes lighter. And then by the time it reaches here, it's kind of almost okay. So we generally break the value chart into, we call this thing as a value chart. So we generally break value chart into 4 or 8 grids. Okay. Basically, in four grids, what happens? First grid is totally dark, and in 8, first 2 are totally dark. Over here, the last grid, if you see, more than 3/4 of the last grid is light, whereas towards the end it becomes more and more light. Okay, and in between this portion is like medium. So this portion is called core shadow. So value chart helps us defining the shadows. So all the shadows are basically derived from the value chart. Okay. And this is called highlight area or highlight shadow or highlight area. This medium, we call it as mid-tone. So I generally use the words as CS, MT and HM. Okay. Now mid-tone is when it's moving towards highlight, it becomes lighter. So the gray almost becomes white. And when it's moving towards core shadow, the gray becomes black, like darker and darker. Okay. So now if you break this into 8 boxes, so here this last one will almost remain like this. There will be no change. There will be little, something over here, and this one will be like this dark, like black dark types. Now many times people use this value chart for making colors. So let's say we are drawing an apple, okay, and we have over here the shade of red. So darkest will be here, lightest will be here. So let's say I want somewhere around vermilion type mixed with scarlet, because vermilion will be somewhere over here generally. So I will be choosing color from here. So we generally match colors like that. Or if you want very dark, which is the core shadow area, we will take it. Now let's move to the next one, that is light source. Okay. इसमें in this what happens is, I'll come back to the apple again, because we need to also understand the 4th shadow, which is cast shadow, which is not seen in the value chart. This is one shadow which is not seen in the value chart. Because value chart gives us only the gradation and the variation in the shadow. Okay, now cast shadow is nothing but the shadow of any object, even including human beings, and like anything that has a shadow is called cast shadow. Now each name is basically derived from in a very general way. Highlight is when you give maximum light, the highest amount of light on a particular place where you will have no shadow, everything will be like white. So that's why it's highlight. Mid-tone is between high and low. And core is like, the earth's core is the darkest point in the earth, where there is no light approaching at all, not at all reaching. So that is the core shadow, from where the name has been derived. And cast shadow, because the shadow is getting casted on the surface. Now the surface can be floor, can be water, can be anything. When it's in a water body or on a transparent body, we call it to be reflection. Otherwise it is called cast shadow. Okay? Now cast shadow totally and directly depends on light source. From where the light is coming, it will totally depend on that. Now coming back to the apple, let's say light is coming over here, because we took dark over here itself, so we'll go with that only. So let's say this is our light source. Okay, so obviously this part will be our highlight area mostly. Okay, this much part can become our mid-tone, and this part will be core shadow, right? Now the cast shadow will also definitely fall this side, because the light is from here. Now core can also be here, because this is a round object. So depending on the object and the shape of the object and the form of the object, the shadows fall. If it's a flat thing, then most probably core shadow will go behind. But since it's a round object, so it will turn this side, so core shadow will be here. Core shadow can also be a small line over here, because this part is turning. And so just one dark line, and then we will have the highlight area. Okay. Now so cast shadow will fall here. Now cast shadow right next to the object will be as dark as core shadow. Because if I keep my hand here, so if you see right under my hand, it's black. But when it's moving away from my hand, it's fading. Because the light is getting more access to the area, but otherwise my hand is blocking the light. So since my hand is kind of a obstruction, hence the shadow is dark. But here light is getting access. So definitely wherever the light is more, the shadow starts fading. So over here it will be the darkest. I'm just going in any direction right now, not exactly following that. And then it becomes light and it fades off. So same way how it moves from this to this. So cast shadow basically takes the total option of value chart and moves from black to light. It kind of fades away, right? Even if you see in the reflections, where especially in a sunset, right below the sun it is really orangish reddish, but slowly it fades, it becomes pink, then violet, and then it's blue, or whatever is the color of the water. Okay, so this is one thing which is extremely important. Okay, so we learnt about core shadow, mid-tone, highlight, and then we learnt about cast shadow, right? The fifth shadow is bounce light. It again goes as per its word. It is the light which bounces back from the surface to your object. Sounds weird.
No, interesting.
So basically, for example, you take a round object. Mostly you will find bounce light in round, circular, cylindrical, oval, these kind of things. Not very rare on edgy objects. Mostly which has no edges kind of those. Okay, now let's say I have a sphere here, which is very bad. Let me go better over here. Okay, and here is my light. Now this is a round object, right? Now if I keep this object here, the light will somewhere fall here, because this is the back part. So light will somewhere fall here, highlight. So this entire area will become my highlight area. This portion will be little dark, whereas this entire portion will be highlight. And then I will have slight core shadow in over here, very thin line of core shadow. And then I'll have mostly mid-tone. But the mid-tone will be changing its value over here itself from dark to light to dark. Because this portion, if you see like this, okay, it falls here, yahan pe it will be little dark, then in between it will again become light, again when it's turning towards backside it will become dark. So whichever is going away from the light will become darker. Okay, so this will be like dark, and then this portion will become kind of light, and then again this portion will become dark, and then this portion will be your totally core shadow. Okay, but in core shadow you will have one place which can be somewhere here, somewhere depending on the light source, somewhere here, somewhere here. Now let's say my surface is here, so light comes here and touches here. Now
there is a bounce light and you will have a shiny area here.
yes, so if it is touching here, it will reflect back here. So this one's light is again reflecting over here, which will go like a light only. Why this happens in a round object is because, let's say this is a round object, so light is going like this. Light is not totally obstructed, whereas when I keep an edgy object, light is totally obstructed. See, here there is no gap between the object and the surface. Here there's good amount of gap between the object and the surface, whereas the object is actually ending here, but I have good amount of gap here. So my light is also passing like this, touching the surface, bouncing back.
So there is
So
here bounce,
here there is
yes.
a bounce light.
So here will be the bounce.
the surface also has some surface which reflects.
No, it can be any surface.
Any
It
surface.
will
Most
reflect.
of the surfaces will reflect.
Most of them.
If it is sitting on a mirror, it will reflect massively.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah,
And if it's even on these, it reflects.
it reflects, but paper will not reflect.
It will
on it.
reflect. Because the light is getting more access over here, so it will be too light over here. देखो यहाँ पे it will be dark, but here there is too much of light. Here there is no light. I mean, compared to here, here the light is less, whereas here it is more. So if here it is more, so it is definitely reflecting back. Hence, I'm getting the shadow here.
But you will see ना यहाँ पे दिख रहा है ना, this area is there is light.
Little light.
Light.
So that is, so depending on the surface, the bounce light will be, the shine of the bounce light will depend on the surface, from which it is reflected. But a bounce light will be there. You will mostly find it in fruits. Find in fruits. Still life may, if we say the jugs, flasks, bottles, cups, anything that is round object, saucers, all that. Okay. Okay. So what we draw is a composition. We learn how to draw everything in single pieces. But when we have to draw something in complete, that is called a composition. Okay, like we learn how to draw an apple, we learn how to draw a jug, we learn how to draw a house, we learn how to draw a table. But when we have to bring all the still lifes together in one place, then that becomes composition. Okay, now we learn how to draw house, tree, river, land all separately, but when we bring that together in a particular font, then it becomes a composition. So now a composition has got these 5 important aspects. First is central. Central is basically, central means you, in your every composition, you will have one main object.
The
or
focus
two
point.
Object, the focus point. Okay. Now that main object, say your perspective, you will depend. Okay, so you will be focusing on one, and that main object will be colored at the end, but drawn at the beginning. Okay, first thing to draw, last thing to color, or last thing to shade, and will be totally prominent and dark. Okay, it can be light also depending on the contrast. So basically it should be contrasting in such a way that it is totally visible and understood that yes, that is my object. Okay, second aspect is rules of third. Rules of third is generally we do when we are following the grid rule.
Photography.
Now in rules of third, what happens is we take, mainly also when we are copying from a photograph. Now we take a photograph and we break that into grid of threes, and we just break just in the part of threes, and then we take one part, we draw, we take another part, we draw, and then we take the third part and we draw, and we break it in 1, 2, 3 horizontally and 1, 2, 3 vertically. So each rectangle, in this case it won't be square, each rectangle will be drawn one by one. Now if you draw with the horizontal, then you got to finish all the 3 horizontal rectangle first. You can't do this first and then this, then this, then this. No, you got to go either horizontally or vertically. So one by one. Okay. Third is your focal point, in which everything else becomes blurry. Nowadays this option has come in our camera also, in the mobiles, which is the in my phone it says as portrait option, wherein when I just focus on the person and everything, my background becomes just blurry. So the difference between this central and the third point focal point is only this. Here everything remains, everything is prominent, but this is evidently prominent, whereas this one everything else becomes blurry. No matter your background can be dark, can be light, yet it will be blurry. Fourth is depth of field. Okay, for example, perspective. Okay, taking the perspective, and I'm considering 1 point perspective. Okay, and I'm standing in a place, let's say roadside. I have trees, I have houses. Now the trees which is in front will be very much prominent. Slowly the depth of my shade will become more and more light when it's moving back, and when it is in front, each and every shade will be dark. The house will also become like slanting. We won't be drawing them straight because it's going in this direction, so it will become slanting. So that depth with your shading, with coloring, you will have to show. Also which is big, which is small. Okay, for example, you have that railway phatak and uska do hota hai, the barriers thing. Now the samne wala will be appearing to be smaller than the piche wala. So when you're coloring, so the shade of this one will be darker than this one. Though they are parallel bars, but it will still appear to be up and down. So the one which is in front, that one will appear more dark and prominent, whereas the behind one. And in between this, the shadow, the color that you will be doing, the direction in which you will be doing will establish the depth of the ground. Will establish the depth of it. A depth of field doesn't mean the field. It means the
Depth of the picture.
Depth of the picture. Okay. Fifth one is symmetrical and asymmetrical. Now you have to balance the drawing, which is the most important aspect in any drawing. Okay. It doesn't mean that it has to have the same objects on both sides, or it has to have the objects in the same places on both sides, but it should be balanced. It should have same heaviness or the weight of the objects. It should not be like, okay, I have 10 trees here and I just have one house here. Then my landscape is wrong. I have one huge table with a pedestal fan with 25 books on it and I just have one cat drinking milk. Doesn't balance my drawing. So either I'll have to lift the cat and make her sit on the table and have few more utensils along with it, which will match the weight of 25 books and a pedestal fan on the table. Then, so you got to balance your drawing. It should be like a weighing scale should be together, which is extremely important. It can be asymmetrical, but it should balance. One object can be here, one object can be here. One object can be kept like this, the other one can be kept in whichever. One can be round object, one can be cylindrical. One can be totally flat, one can be totally long. But the weightage of both sides should be same. Especially in landscape, when you see, it's very easy in still life to get the weightage same. But in a landscape or when you are drawing a plein air drawing, plein air means when you are looking at something and drawing in an open area, okay, in that case you have to make sure that even if I'm drawing a still life, but it's an open air when my background is just anything, so then how do I balance my background? If I'm not making any table under my things and I'm just making it sit on a ground, then I have to have something on the ground on which it is sitting, which should balance my sky, which should balance my center object. So if my center object is heavy, I cannot have my sky and bottom very heavy, because then it will fall. Because if center is heavy, it is managing everything. But if center is light, you got to make the other, maybe you'll have to make the table little heavy so that the light weight of the center and the light weight of the sky together will become one weight equivalent to the weight of the bottom. Okay, so balancing is extreme. So here there is no symmetrical thing, but the balance matters. Okay, that's it. This is a 300 GSM paper. This is a 170 GSM. The effect that we will get in this will be more or less same from 120 GSM to 180 GSM. Okay, and this is a 300 GSM. So I just want to show the difference when we shade. See, on a 170 GSM, this kind of look you get, and on a 300, you get this. See the basic difference?
The grains are much larger.
Yes, the grains are much larger. That's why. Plus, smudging a pencil or pastels is difficult. It's not impossible because I have done it. So, but it is, yes, a little difficult task compared to this. In this, just a little pressure also can do it. But in this, little pressure doesn't work. In this, you have to...
So for pencil shading, lesser GSM is better? I mean,
Yes.
120 to 180?
Yes. Acha, also see one thing, when here I apply pressure, my lines almost vanish. Whereas here, no matter how much pressure I apply, lines do not vanish.
Mom, so you have to make sure that liney nahi.
Exactly. So if you are using above 200 GSM,
Then you have to be
you have to
them
be
slanting.
extremely careful.
Careful
It
that you
should
don't-
go like,
Yeah, that there are no lines.
yeah, so that when you smudge,
There is
Wow.
No, yeah.
okay. But anything if you're doing for like pastels and pencils or pen work, between 120 to 180 GSM is preferable. But if you're doing a pencil work mostly, then my preference is always 150 and above.
Okay.
Okay, because when you're doing pencil, you need a little bit of grain
Grains,
effect.
yes,
You cannot have total plain
Plain
effect.
effect, yeah.
Never try a pen work, like especially gel pens or those waterproof pens with micro tip pens, on above 190 GSM, because your pens will go bad. But if you're using a dot pen, you're free to use any texture. Okay, because see, I had done that thing, and this is the condition of my AV right now. So you remember that big painting that I did? That was done on a 300 GSM paper. So this is the condition. Whereas this should not be the condition. The condition should be something like this. So it should be like, I mean, black, but this one has kind of split. It will, I mean, the nib will split and become into like a, that brush
Because
type.
it is going to the rough surface.
Exactly. And on rough surface, what will happen is you'll have to keep on doing like this again and again and again for a pen. So that becomes a problem. Whereas in this, at one go, you can go. And even if you're going again, you're still working on a smoother surface compared to this.
What is ivory paper?
Ivory paper is nothing, it's the same thing. Ivory, arches, imported, handmade, they are all different kinds of papers available in different places of the world. Okay, imported papers are mainly from Dubai, which we use in India because it is cheaply available. Arches in India, 5 sheets of A3 paper costs only 15 to 18,000 or something like that. Yeah,
5
but-
sheets.
Yeah, because Arches is not available in India so easily, whereas it is available in other countries. In I'm forgetting the name of the country. Over there, 5 sheets are easily available as per Indian currency, around in 1500 or 1800. Whereas when it comes to India, one more zero is added.
Baapre.
A 10-yard roll is available for 65,000, and that is only 140 GSM. So it depends. See, the papers depends on the kind of trees available in the part of the world. So whichever tree is available, you get papers. In handmade also, you've got 2 categories. One is very thin, and one is like machine-made handmade. The first it is made. So in school that you'll get, those are machine-made handmades. Those are not typical handmade. Handmade paper is one which is very thin, in which I did that tiger, that 3 piece. Though that was a 300 GSM, but it was almost as thin as 170 GSM because that was literally made with hands. But this is also 3 GSM, but this is an imported one. This comes from Dubai. This is totally machine made. So imported papers are totally machined. So nowadays we use this to avoid using our cloth. No specific reason for that. Okay. So that is so ivory paper is mostly available in Africa. It's easily available in southern Africa. Mostly in Zambia and Botswana. Wahan se it gets exported over here, like imported here, and then we buy. So those are also expensive. Now every paper you will get minimum 30 GSM. Maximum it can go up to 500 to 600 GSM. 500 is very thick. 500 GSMs will have more of cotton in it and less of paper.
Mom, so it's more like canvas.
No, it will be like a thick cotton layer. It won't be like canvas. Canvas is cloth. Okay, even canvas boards, cloth is pasted on canvas, on the board. So canvas is totally cloth. Whereas cotton is added in the paper, like from whichever thing paper is made, it's added with it, it's blended with it, and then a paper is made. I don't know how is that made.
30 GSM.
30 GSM is very thin.
Paper. That
30
the
GSM
notebook
is,
paper
yes.
normal.
No, notebook papers are 50 GSM.
Oh.
Our printout papers are 70 GSM.
The examination sheets are
30 GSM. Especially जो आपने theory exam दिया था, that is 100% 30 GSM. I think even lesser than that because it was very thin. Yeah. So those are 30 GSM. Okay.